I have a folder on my computer with over 100 saved AI prompts in it. And I built that folder over a year and a half of using ChatGPT at first, then testing every AI tool I could get my hands on, trying to master prompting the way you're supposed to. And I was proud of it. I added to it the way some people add to a streak, a little every day, watching it grow. That folder is the single clearest proof that I was using AI completely wrong. And almost everyone using AI right now has some version of it. I run a CPA firm and I rebuilt the whole thing around AI. What I finally understood is that the people pulling real leverage out of this don't have a folder like mine. They barely touch the tools at all. So I'm going to show you what they understand that you don't, why it's the opposite of everything you've been told. And the moment I realized those years of mastering prompts weren't a head start, they were actually a trap. I'm Jordan Guess. I've spent the last 2 years, I would say, taking a real business, my own, and rebuilding how it runs around AI. This wasn't a side experiment I ran on the weekends. It has actually become the operating model of the firm. And what I learned is that the gap between the people getting leverage out of this and the people getting busier has almost nothing to do with the tools. It's something underneath of that. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If that's the kind of thing you want to follow along with, subscribe to the channel because I'm documenting all of this as I go. Let me take you to the exact moment this clicked because it really wasn't gradual. It was all in one night. It was about 11 p.m. at night. All the kids are already asleep. My office is quiet. I'm still at my desk with ChatGPT open, doing what I did most nights back then. I was rewriting a prompt for the 4th or 5th time. I was trying to get a summary out the door and trying to get it to come out a little bit cleaner. And I want to be honest about how it felt because I think a lot of you are doing this exact thing right now. It felt productive. I was really locked in that night and I'd been at it already for about 2 hours and I was kind of proud of how dialed in the prompt was getting. Then I scrolled up to my inbox and I saw it. An email had come in from a client earlier that morning, a real question, a real decision that they were waiting on me to make, something that actually mattered to their business. And it had been sitting there unanswered for, at that point about 8 hours while I was sitting here polishing an AI prompt. And it hit me all at once. I'd spent the whole night making one small task slightly better, and the actual business, the thing that was supposed to be getting better, hadn't moved an inch. The work that mattered had been waiting on me the entire time, and I was busier than I'd ever been, and none of it was landing where it was supposed to. So that's the night I understood I hadn't built a better business. I had built a more sophisticated way to stay stuck inside of it. Because here's the thing I missed for way too long. If you're the one that's writing the AI prompts, you're not running your company. You're just working in it. And that one sentence reorganized everything for me. And I'll come back to it. But first, I want to show you what the wrong way actually does to a business because it's worse than just wasted time. So what does the wrong way actually cost you? It's not really the hours, although it is a lot of hours. It's 3 things underneath the hours and they actually compound. The first one is that you become the bottleneck. When you're the one operating the AI, every single output has to route through you. You're the one prompting it, you're checking it. You're the one deciding what happens next, which means the business can only move as fast as you can personally sit at your keyboard. You didn't add capacity to the firm, you just became a faster version of the single point of failure you probably already were. And I watched this happen on my own team. People would come over to my desk or they would jump on a Slack call with me and wait because I was the only one who knew which prompt produced the best version of the thing that they needed. And I turned myself into like a help desk for my own tools. The second one is that getting better at prompting does not scale you. It just adds hours. This is the one that fooled me the longest. So let me make it concrete. I had a client memo that I used to write from scratch every time, and it took me about 40 minutes. And I got so good at prompting it that I got it down to like 10 minutes. And that felt incredible until I realized I'd done that for one task. And there were a bunch more behind it, and every single one still needed me in the chair to make it all happen. And that's the trap. Improving at the tool feels like leverage. It feels like a skill you're building, but all you've really done is get more efficient at a task that still requires you to be present for every instance of it. You made the treadmill faster, but you're still on the treadmill. And here's the part that feels backwards. The thing I told you at the start is the opposite of what you've been told. Everyone out there is telling you the answer is to get better at prompting the AI. You should be writing better prompts. prompt frameworks, prompt packs, skills, and past a certain point, getting better at prompting can actually trap you even harder, which brings me to the third thing. The third thing is that the better you get, the more trapped you actually are, because now the whole system lives only in your head and saved on your prompt folder on your desktop. Now you're the only person who can run it. You've made yourself more essential to the day-to-day, not less. And the entire point of building a business, at least the way I think about it, is to make yourself less essential over time, not more. So picture my Monday back then, right? I'd come into the office, I would open up a few tools, a spreadsheet, I'd pull up the prompt folder, and I'd start working through a queue of things that all needed me personally to run them, be it reconciliations, client summaries, follow-up drafts, one after another, me feeding each one into a tool and checking what came back. And by lunch, I looked incredibly productive. I produced almost nothing the business couldn't have gotten without me sitting there for 6 hours. That was a person who looked very busy, but was completely stuck. Now compare that to where I'll take you next, because once I understood all of this, I did the thing that felt completely counterintuitive. I stopped using AI myself. And when I say I stopped using AI, I don't mean I gave up on it. I just mean I stopped being the one sitting in front of it. I stopped operating it and I started putting it into the business instead as something that runs whether or not I'm paying attention to it. And that really is the whole difference. The wrong way is using AI as a tool you operate. The right way is AI's infrastructure that actually operates underneath you. But I couldn't build that part myself. And this is really the piece that nobody tells you about. So I brought in a software developer named Kindle. Everyone pictures an AI guy, like a whiz with the perfect prompts, the ones who know the magic words. Kindle has never once handed me a prompt. He's a software engineer, and that distinction is the entire thing. A prompt guy helps you sit in front of the tool more effectively, while an engineer builds systems that mean you don't have to sit in front of it at all. What Kindle builds runs on infrastructure layered on top of the models, our own setup sitting on top of Claude and ChatGPT wired into how the firm actually works. It runs in the background and it does not even wait for me to prompt it. Let me give you the clearest example because it's the one that changed how I think about all of this. So we have a bookkeeper at the firm, smart, really good at the job, and a huge amount of that job is routine stuff. You know, the reconciliation, the data entry, the categorizing, the same patterns over and over every month. That's exactly the work that AI infrastructure is really good at. So we moved it. The system handles that layer now in the background consistently. And here's the part people get wrong about this. That bookkeeper didn't get replaced. The role just actually moved up. Instead of spending the month buried in data entry and reconciliation, now that person sits in on the client calls, reviews what the system produces before it goes out, and handles the judgment calls on the stuff that's actually ambiguous. The advisory work, the AI genuinely cannot do. And that's the shape of doing it right. In one example, the routine work moved down into the infrastructure, and the human work moved up into judgment. And nobody got cut. The whole operation just climbed up a level on the value chain. So compare that to where I started though. I went from feeding the tool these prompts all day to reviewing what the system produces, and the bookkeeper went from doing the data entry to owning the judgment layer. It was the same pattern twice. The work moved up and the keyboard time moved out. And that's the version that works, but there's one thing this still can't touch no matter how carefully you build it, and it's the thing nobody selling AI systems really wants to admit. There's a hard limit on all of this. And in my world, it has a specific name, and it's your client's data. So again, I run a CPA firm, so the information moving throughout the business is about the most sensitive information a person has. Social security numbers, their full financial pictures, their tax records, the kind of data where a single mistake isn't an inconvenience, it's a real breach of trust, and depending on the data, a legal problem. So you can't just take that and pipe it into a chatbot. You can't paste a client's full financial life into a tool and hope for the best. And this is exactly where the just get good at prompting crowd goes quiet, because handling sensitive data safely is not a prompting problem. It's an engineering problem. It's really like a systems problem. And it's the part that genuinely still requires a real software engineer and real judgment, and it does not have a shortcut. And I'll be honest, right? Like throughout tax season, it was tempting to get this wrong. Early on, you'd have a client's full tax return open, and the tempting thing was to just drop the document into a chatbot and ask it to summarize. One paste and I would have saved myself an hour, but I stopped because that one shortcut would have put a client's entire financial identity somewhere I didn't control, and that hour I would have saved wasn't worth it. So instead of a shortcut, we built the thing that handles that data properly inside our own walls, and it took weeks instead of a simple copy paste. And that's the difference between using AI and building with it. And honestly, that's the part that should give you some relief, because remember, the fear from the beginning, the feeling that you're behind, that everyone else has this figured out and you don't, nobody has the hard part fully figured out. The easy part, identifying where AI helps and putting it underneath the routine work, is more straightforward than people make it sound. The hard part is doing it safely with information that actually matters. That's still unsolved for everyone for the most part, including the people who look at you like they're way ahead of you. So that's also why the right way ends up feeling like doing almost nothing. Once the infrastructure handles the routine work and the dangerous work is built carefully and deliberately, your job really shrinks down to the thing only you can do. You check the output and you make the judgment calls and you own the client relationships. It feels like nothing because the noise is gone and all that's left is the part that was always actually yours. So let me bring it back to where I started. Almost everybody using AI right now is using it wrong, and the tell is very simple. If you are the one sitting in front of it every day, writing the prompts, doing the work, you're not running your business with AI. You're just working inside it with extra steps. I know because that was me, and I had that folder with over 100 prompts in it to prove how stuck I was. The shift isn't getting better at the tool itself. It's getting the tool out from in front of you and underneath of you. Routine work moves down into the infrastructure and your work moves up into the judgment layer. And the one part that can't be automated, the careful, high-stakes human part, is the part you finally get the room to actually do well. So if you run an accounting or a tax firm and you want to see how this gets built properly, safely, with the client data handled the way it has to be, that's exactly what we're working on over at Bitment Plus. And that's where I go deep on building this for firms like yours. And you can feel free to book a call with us at the link in the description. Talk to you soon.